The coffee shop buzzed quietly with leftover morning warmth. Most of the early crowd had cleared out, leaving a few people typing on laptops, one couple whispering over croissants, and a barista wiping down the espresso machine. Ethan Cole stood, in line, scrolling absently through emails on his phone. A normal Tuesday, nothing unusual. Until she walked in. She looked out of place, soaking wet. No umbrella, coat clinging to her like a second skin, hair stuck to her cheeks, strands tangled and dark. She looked like she had been running through the rain for hours, but it wasn't the water that made Ethan stare, it was her eyes. They were wide, alert, haunted, the way someone looks when they're either terrified or numb. She moved quickly to the counter, reached into her coat pocket, and placed a cracked black credit card on the register. A small black coffee. "Please," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The barista tapped on the screen, swiped the card. Declined. "Sorry, ma'am, that one didn't go through," he said politely. "Do you have another one?" She tried again, declined. The color drained from her already pale face. She dug her hands into every pocket, coat, jeans, even the lining of her sleeves, coming up with nothing. No wallet, no cash. Just emptiness. Ethan stepped forward. "Put it on mine," he said casually. The woman turned toward him, startled. Her eyes met his for the first time. Brown, with a gold ring round the pupils, stunning but empty, like whatever had once filled her was long gone. "You didn't have to do that," she said, clearly uncomfortable. "It's okay," Ethan smiled. "Everyone has those days." She hesitated, then took the cup gently from the barista's hand, like it was a fragile treasure. "Thank you," she whispered again, then drifted toward the corner table like a shadow. She didn't sip the coffee. She just held it between her cold fingers, staring out the window, watching. Waiting. Ethan sat nearby, curiosity gnawing at him. Something about her didn't add up. She didn't seem homeless. Her coat was high quality though, soaked. Her nails, while chipped, looked manicured. Her boots were designer. Everything about her said money, except the panic in her eyes and the declined card. His phone buzzed. He had a meeting in 30 minutes. He stood, gave her one last glance, and walked out into the gray morning drizzle. She didn't even look up. 2 hours later, Ethan returned. He'd forgotten an important folder, his client's signed investment papers, on the cafe table. His stomach twisted as he pushed the door open, praying it was still there. It was, but the woman was gone. He looked around, no one matching her description. He asked the barista. "She left not long after you," the barista said. Didn't say anything, just walked out, left her coffee. Her cup still sat on the corner table, untouched. Ethan walked over and stared at it. Beside the cup was a single silver small, teardrop-shaped diamond, or at least something that sparkled like one. He picked it up and held it in his palm. It was warm. Then he noticed the side of the cup, a faint red smear. He leaned closer. It wasn't lipstick, it was blood. That evening, Ethan couldn't concentrate on work. He kept picturing her face, the soaked coat, the trembling hands, the expression that screamed, "Help me," without making a sound. He placed the earring on his kitchen table and just stared at it. It didn't make sense. Who was she? Why would someone like that be begging for coffee and bleeding? The next morning, his instincts dragged him back to the cafe. He needed answers. The same barista was there. "Do you remember anything else about that woman?" Ethan asked. The barista frowned, then nodded. "Actually, yeah, right after you left, this guy came in. Tall, business suit, expensive shoes. Didn't order anything, just stood there, scanned the place. Looked like he was searching for someone." "Did he talk to her?" Ethan asked. "Nope, she didn't even look up, but he definitely saw her. Then he just turned around and walked out, like he was following her." The barista nodded slowly. "Yeah, like he was checking if she was still here." Ethan's jaw clenched. Something was wrong. He pulled out his phone and snapped a photo of the earring, then drove across town to see his old college friend, Jason, a jeweler with a sharp eye for real stones. Jason took one look and raised his eyebrows. "This isn't costume jewelry, man," he said. "White gold, high-grade stone. Maybe not the biggest diamond, but the cut's expensive. Part of a matched set, I'd bet. Easily worth 10 grand, maybe more if custom made." 10,000, Ethan echoed, stunned. Jason shrugged. "Someone important wore this." Ethan nodded slowly. That woman hadn't just stumbled in off the street. She had once lived a very different life. Later that night, Ethan sat at his laptop, eyes scanning articles and forums. He searched keywords. Missing woman cafe declined, card blood rainstorm mystery woman downtown. Nothing useful. Then he tried. Tech CEO disappearance bingo. A corporate blog popped up with an article from 2 years ago. Elaine Waverly, youngest tech CEO to raise $100 million Series A funding. He clicked. And there she was. Same eyes, same gold ring round the pupils, same jawline, different everything else. Smiling in a tailored cream blazer, hair straight and clean, confidence beaming from her. It was her. He scrolled, heart racing. According to the post, she ran a fintech company called Waverly Logic. After a huge investment round, the company made headlines. Then, silence. No recent press, no social media, nothing. Ethan checked the comments section, only a few, but one stood out. Guess disappearing is easier when you've got embezzled cash. #fraud queen. His eyes widened. He searched more. Reddit threads, blogs. One whispered she was under investigation by the FBI. Another said she had mental health issues. A third claimed she fled overseas, but none of it was confirmed. No arrest, no public statement, just gone. And now she had reappeared in his life, bloody, broke, and terrified. He couldn't let it go. He went back to the cafe one more time. 2 mornings after the first encounter, to his surprise, the barista greeted him differently. "Hey," she said, lowering her voice. "Something weird happened. Thought you should know." She handed him a folded napkin. Ethan frowned. "What's this?" Found it under the table where she sat. It wasn't there before. Ethan unfolded the napkin carefully. Inside, scribbled, in shaky handwriting, were 5 chilling words. "Don't look for me, please." Below that, a small fingerprint, smudged in red, not ink, blood. He stared at it, heart pounding. The message was clear, but it was already too late. He was involved now, and he had no idea that this single act of kindness, paying for a stranger's coffee, was about to change his life forever, because someone else had seen her too, and they weren't going to stop looking. 2 years ago, Manhattan, New York. The boardroom was silent, all eyes fixed on one woman. Elaine Waverly stood at the head of a long glass table, confident but calm. Her presentation had just ended. Projected slides behind her, showing millions in quarterly growth, expanding international partnerships, and a revolutionary AI fraud detection product. Investors clapped. Her CFO nodded. The lead investor stood. "This is the future," he said, "and I trust no one more than you to build it." Elaine's smile didn't reach her eyes, because just 30 minutes earlier, she had discovered something horrifying in the financial system they were all applauding. Whole, a leak, $8 million gone, and the worst part, it was traced to her account, but she hadn't taken a cent. Present-day Ethan paced his apartment, napkin in hand, mind spinning. "Don't look for me, please." He reread it 10 times, every word screaming desperation. He picked up the earring again. So much had happened in just 2 days. She was Elaine Waverly, former tech CEO, now vanished from the world, bleeding in a cafe, writing him bloodstained warnings, and someone was watching her. Ethan wasn't sure what scared him more, the man in the suit the barista described, or the silence surrounding Elaine's story. People don't just disappear in real life, unless someone makes sure they do. He dug deeper, back into old press releases, archived LinkedIn profiles, ghost blogs by ex-employees. There were whispers. Her startup, Waverly Logic, had gone radio silent months after her record-breaking funding round. Then came the lawsuit, quite sealed. Allegations of wire fraud, insider theft, investor betrayal, but no trial. Elaine had disappeared before anything made it to court, and according to an obscure post on an old hacker forum, someone had wiped her digital footprint clean. No address, no phone, no activity since 2023, until now, until she walked into that cafe like a ghost made of rainwater and fear. 1 week earlier, Connecticut Elaine sat hunched over a burner phone in a cheap motel, light flickering above her. Her breath trembled as she read the email again. "If you don't deliver the access codes in 5 days, the next photo will be of your sister, alive for now." Her sister, Leah, a nurse, innocent. Elaine's heart raced. They still believed she had the codes, the digital master keys to the Waverly Logic system, the ones that could access the dormant offshore accounts, where the real thief had stashed the stolen millions. But Elaine had never had those keys, not even when she was CEO. They had been planted, framed a perfect takedown, and now, the real criminal wanted her silence, or her blood. Present day, Ethan's apartment. Ethan stared at his phone, debating he could report the napkin, call the police, walk away. But what would he say? That a bleeding stranger he bought coffee for turned out to be a missing CEO on the run from God knows what. They'd think he was crazy, or worse, connected. Instead, he made another choice. He emailed the blogger who'd posted that theory about Elaine's staged disappearance. A man named Grayson Wolf, anonymous, cynical, obsessed with tech corruption. To Ethan's surprise, he replied within minutes, "You met her. Tell me everything. I've been chasing this story for 2 years." Grayson's apartment. That night, Ethan met Grayson in a dingy loft filled with monitors and pizza boxes. Grayson was younger than expected, with glasses that constantly slid down his nose, and energy that crackled. "You're not the first person to come looking for her," Grayson said, typing quickly. Ethan sat, confused. "What do you mean?" Grayson turned his screen. A photo popped up. Grainy CCTV. Elaine, outside a hospital, last week. Another photo. Elaine, at a bus terminal, looking over her shoulder. "She's been spotted across 3 states in the last month," Grayson said. "Always alone, always scared." "She left me this," Ethan said, handing him the napkin. Grayson scanned it. "This fingerprint, that's a message. Blood isn't a mistake. She's saying time's up." Ethan stared. Time's up for what? Grayson turned solemn. For her, or for whoever's chasing her. 3 years ago, Waverly Logic headquarters. Elaine had trusted him. Caleb Morris, the company's CTO, her partner in innovation, her best friend. He'd built the code that made them rich, that attracted investors, that turned her into a Forbes cover story. But Caleb had also created a backdoor, a secret script that funneled millions into encrypted accounts under Elaine's name. He knew the system better than anyone. He'd framed her cleanly. When she found the leak and confronted him, he didn't deny it. "You'll take the fall, Elaine," he said, calm as ever. "And I'll disappear. If I go down, I'll tell them everything. You won't get the chance." Present motel outside Chicago. Elaine sat on the floor, hands shaking. She'd changed motels twice since leaving the cafe. She never stayed more than 2 nights. Anywhere, every face in the lobby could be watching her. Every vehicle outside could be his. Her burner phone, VIBRATED. Unknown number. "You're being reckless. He knows." Her stomach dropped. Another message followed. "You shouldn't have gone to the cafe." He tracked the card system. One more move, and Leah dies. Her heart stopped. Elaine curled up on the floor, hands over her mouth. The walls felt like they were closing in. She wanted to scream. Instead, she wept. Back in the city, Ethan's apartment, Ethan's mind spun with everything Grayson told him. Elaine had been a rising star, framed, hunted, alive, and now in danger because of him. "I need to find her before they do," Ethan said. Grayson looked at him. "That'll make you a target too." "I don't care." Grayson nodded. "Then there's one place to start. Caleb Morris, the real thief. No one's seen him in years. But I've been tracking shell company records. Offshore activities started again last week. He's back." Ethan's chest tightened. "Then she's running out of time." Grayson leaned in. "If we find him, we find her." That night, Ethan opened his drawer again. The earring, the napkin, all of it stared back at him. She didn't ask for help. She warned him to stay away. But she hadn't left until he'd shown her kindness. And if she truly believed she was alone, maybe that gesture had been her first crack of hope in years. He couldn't leave her now. He wouldn't. Final flashback. Elaine, last night at the cafe's. Ethan left. She watched him go, his kindness lingering like heat on her skin. She hadn't expected anyone to notice her, much less help. Her plan was simple: disappear again before Caleb's men found her. But in the moment she stood to leave, she saw something outside. A black car, tinted windows, engine running. Her hands trembled as she wrote the note. Blood from a cut on her wrist mixing into the ink. She left the napkin where he'd find it. Because maybe, just maybe, Ethan Cole was the one person who wouldn't turn away. Then she slipped out the back door and vanished again. The rain returned, tapping softly against Ethan's window like an omen. He hadn't slept. Grayson's revelation kept looping through his mind. Caleb Morris, the man who framed Elaine, vanished without a trace. Until now, Ethan sat at his desk, every surface covered in notes. Digital records, old news clips, screenshots of forum posts. Beside them, the teardrop earring and the blood-stained napkin. He tapped into a private spreadsheet Grayson had shared. It tracked shell companies linked to Caleb. One name appeared more than any other: Brightmore International, a tech shell that had started funneling money into a fake charity account just weeks ago. Grayson had traced the charity to an abandoned real estate building just outside Boston. "I think that's where Caleb is," Grayson had said, "or at least, whoever's laundering for him." Ethan's gut said Elaine was headed there too, but he didn't know how close she already was. 2 days earlier, outside Boston, Elaine crouched in the brush outside a rusting factory office. Her coat, stolen from a donation bin, hid her identity. Her burner phone showed only one message from the unknown number: "Bring the access codes. Alone, or Leah dies." She had nothing to give. She wasn't coming to negotiate. She was coming to end it. She stepped onto the cracked pavement, walking straight to the office door. It creaked open. Inside, silence. Then Elaine. His voice stopped her. Caleb Morris stood in the shadows, same smug expression, but aged. His beard was thicker, his eyes colder. "I knew you'd come." Elaine didn't blink. "Where's Leah?" He smiled faintly. "Safe for now, but time's ticking. I don't have the codes, Caleb." "I never did." He tilted his head. "Then why are you here?" "Because I want to see your face. When everything you built burns." She pulled out a small black recorder from her coat. Caleb's face changed. Before he could move, she pressed the button. His own voice recorded from a tapped call. "She'll come, she always does. Just threaten her sister again." His voice again. "Of course I framed her." She was too busy saving the world to realize she was standing in quicksand. Caleb lunged. Elaine spun around, bolting out the door. Behind her, shouting, 2 men gave chase. Caleb's men. She sprinted into the woods, breath sharp in her lungs, but not fast enough. A blow to the back knocked her down. She hit the ground hard, everything fading. The last thing she saw was a black boot pressing against her ribs. Present Grayson's loft. Ethan's phone buzzed violently. "Private number." He answered. A distorted voice came through. Male, rough, deliberate. "You're getting too close, Mr. Cole." Ethan froze. "Leave it. Or next time, it won't be Elaine who bleeds." The line went dead. Ethan's blood turned to ice. How the hell did they get my number? Grayson was already at work, fingers flying across the keyboard. "Your email to me. They traced the IP. They're watching everything." Ethan grabbed his coat. "Then we need to find her before they do." Grayson turned, deadly serious. "Or before they finish what they started." Elaine, unknown location. Her wrists were bound. Her head throbbed. A concrete floor beneath her. Flickering fluorescent lights overhead. Caleb stood nearby, arms folded, holding her recorder like a prize. "You always were dramatic," he said. Elaine's lips were split. Her ribs ached. She didn't speak. "You know," he said, crouching, "you could have walked away. You were out, free. Why come back into the fire?" Elaine's voice cracked. "Because you burned everything I loved." Caleb smirked. "You made it too easy. You wanted to save the world. I wanted to own it. Opposites don't last. I trusted you." His eyes flickered. "You shouldn't have." Boston, near the old factory. Athon stood in the shadows, watching. Grayson had hacked the factory's security feeds, locating a makeshift server room and heat signatures. 3 men, 1 woman. They found her, but going in alone was suicide. Still, Ethan couldn't walk away. He slipped through the side entrance Grayson pointed out. Cameras were disabled for exactly 4 minutes. Ethan moved silently, adrenaline roaring down the hallway. Voices echoed. "He's late. Should have killed her at the cafe." Ethan's stomach twisted. He peered around a corner. Elaine was tied to a chair, bloody defiant. Caleb paced in front of her. Ethan pulled out his phone, started recording. Elaine's voice rang out, clear as glass. "You framed me, and I took the fall. But guess what? I survived. And now, so will the truth." Caleb didn't laugh this time. He reached for something in his jacket. Ethan stepped out. "Let her go." Caleb froze. Elaine blinked in shock. "You..." Caleb smirked. "Ah, the coffee man. How romantic." Ethan held firm. "I've got every word of your confession. You're finished." Caleb looked behind Ethan. A gun cocked. One of the guards. Too late. Bang. The shot missed. Grayson had overridden the fire alarm. Sirens blared. Lights flashed. Sprinklers burst. In the chaos, Ethan rushed forward, tackled Caleb. Elaine ducked. As the second man tried to grab her, she swung the broken chair leg at his head. Crack. He dropped. Blood and water soaked the concrete. Grayson's voice came through Ethan's earpiece. Cops on the way. 3 minutes. Ethan helped Elaine to her feet. Can you run? She nodded. Barely. Together, they burst through the side exit, just as flashing blue lights lit up the trees. 2 days later, Safe House outside the city. Elaine sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket. Her face was still bruised, but her eyes held something new. Pissed. Ethan stepped out, coffee in hand. This time, she accepted it with steady hands. He smiled. No card needed. She actually laughed. A real one. You came after me, she said softly. I couldn't not. She stared at him. They always said no one would believe me, that I'd be forgotten. You weren't. Ethan handed her the other item in his pocket, her earring. She gasped. You kept it. I never let it go. Silence settled between them. Not heavy, just full. Finally, she said, the world thinks I stole everything. But Caleb, he nearly stole me. Ethan looked at her. Then let's give the world the truth. 3 weeks later, New York City courthouse flashes lit the courtroom as Elaine Waverly stepped into the building, wearing a simple black dress and no makeup. Her bruises had faded, but not her determination. Ethan walked beside her. News crews shouted questions. Elaine, did you fake your disappearance? Were you really framed by your CTO? Why now, after 2 years in hiding? She didn't flinch. She didn't run. This time, she was ready to speak. Inside the courtroom, Caleb Morris sat in handcuffs. No tailored suit, no smug grin, just a hollow shell of the man who once thought he'd gotten away with everything. Elaine took the stand. Grayson sat behind her, flanked by investigators and 2 FBI agents who had cracked the shell companies using the recordings and financial evidence she and Ethan had delivered. The judge leaned forward. Ms. Waverly, do you have a final statement before sentencing? Elaine nodded. She stood, facing the courtroom filled with reporters, attorneys, and betrayed investors. I was once called the youngest CEO in tech, she began. I worked hard to build something that could protect people from fraud, but I didn't protect myself. She paused. I trusted someone who looked like a friend, but who saw me as a pawn. I was framed, hunted, and erased, not just from headlines, but from life. Gasps echoed. Today, I'm not just here for justice. I'm here to take back my name for every woman told to stay quiet, for every voice drowned in power and fear. The judge nodded solemnly. Thank you, Ms. Waverly. He turned to Caleb. Caleb Morris, you are hereby sentenced to 25 years in federal prison for financial fraud, extortion, and attempted murder. This court is adjourned. The gavel struck, and just like that Elaine was free, but it wasn't over. Not yet. Outside the courthouse, Elaine stood under the gray sky, letting the cold air fill her lungs. Ethan joined her, slipping his hands into his coat. You did it. She turned to him slowly. No, we did. He smiled. What will you do now? I don't know. Rebuild. Start over. Maybe. Disappear again. But for the right reasons this time. He looked down. You could stay. She tilted her head. With you. Ethan's voice was soft. You've been running alone for so long. Maybe it's time to stop. For the first time, she looked uncertain. I don't even know who I am anymore. You're someone who survived. Someone who told the truth, even when it hurt. Someone who made me care when I wasn't looking to. She smiled faintly. Then maybe I'll stay a little while. 1 month later, small cafe on the Hudson. The new cafe wasn't too fancy. Quiet, warm, the smell of cinnamon drifting in the air. Elaine stood behind the counter, apron tied, notebook in hand. She'd opened it with her own savings, what little was left after everything. She called it Second Brew. Grayson helped build the website. Ethan did the renovation himself. He showed up every morning for coffee and left with 2 muffins he never finished. The cafe had no press, no launch party. Just peace. One morning, a young woman entered wet from the rain, nervous, holding an empty wallet. Elaine looked at her, heart catching. She remembered. She stepped forward. It's okay, she said gently. Your coffee's on me. The woman looked stunned. Elaine placed a warm cup in her hands and smiled. Some things are worth more than money. That evening, apartment above the cafe. Elaine sat by the window, watching the sun fall behind the river. Ethan came in, holding a small box. What's this? She asked. He set it in front of her. She opened it slowly. Inside, the second earring, Elaine gasped. I had it cleaned and reset. Ethan said, figured it was time to stop leaving pieces of yourself behind. Tears touched her lashes. It was the last thing I thought I'd see again. He looked into her eyes. Maybe now, it's time to stop running. Elaine reached across the table, took his hand. I think I already have. Final flashback that day at the cafe. She had entered to get warm, to hide, to breathe. She hadn't expected kindness. When the man paid for her coffee, she felt something break inside, something silent, something starved. She hadn't spoken to anyone in weeks. Her voice had felt like glass. But that man's kindness, it shattered the loneliness. It reminded her she was still a person, not a fugitive, not a ghost, a woman, a human, a soul worth saving. And so, she wrote the napkin, "Don't look for me, please." But secretly, she hoped he would, and he did. So, message, sometimes, the smallest kindness can save a life. And sometimes, the person you help is the one who ends up saving you. The end.